Hello, thanks for having me, good to be here. I just thought I'd start off this episode by sounding like a guest on a talk show host. Gotta mix up your intros, you know? I never know what to say on these things. 18 minutes is a long time for one person to be talking, but I always make it through at the end. You just gotta pretend like you're talking to an old friend. That is, an old friend who can't say anything back. It's very one-sided. So what are we doing here? Flaffy's using Thunderwave? Well, hold on now. Hold on there. Anyway, I thought the idea of Hyper Mode was that you could only use Shadow Rush, and all the other regular moves wouldn't work in Hyper Mode, and the Pokemon would disobey you. That doesn't jive with my preconceived notions of how this game works. Oh well, no big deal. We're still winning the tournament, which is the big thing. This is a fairly easy game, like we talked about on the last episode. Difficult relative to other Pokemon games, but overall still fairly easy. So, there goes Ashley Tisdale or whatever. Remember Ashley Tisdale? Has she been in anything other than Zack and Cody? I don't think she has. I guess none of the Zack and Cody people's careers ever really took off after that show. There was the Asian lady who was in the Social Network, and she gave that dude a blowjob, so I guess her career turned out the best out of anybody else who was on that show. So, what do we got here? Electrike and Cacnea. Why do you think it has the word trike in the name, Electrike? Is it like a tricycle? Kinda seems like a missed opportunity to have a tricycle-themed Pokemon. Like that episode of Billy and Mandy, they had Trikey, the bike, and he was all scary and evil and such, and they had to crush him with a garage door like 50 times. Oh, Billy and Mandy. I've probably said this before, but I saw a really good documentary overview type video about the history of Billy and Mandy, and they pointed out how the show was a lot more messed up in the first season, and they kinda drifted away from that, well, with all future seasons, and even the music in the title screen was different. And I guess in the first season the idea was to have it be more of like a horror-themed kid show, kinda like Courage the Cowardly Dog. And once again, I've said this before, but it just bears repeating it. Would have been interesting to see how the show would have turned out if they had stuck with that. Oh, to think of the alternate sides of old cartoons. I'm just an old nostalgia head, me and my old early 2000s cartoons. That's all I've got in life. I invested so much time and energy into knowing about all the cartoons and seeing all the episodes, and it was acceptable when those shows were new, but now it isn't. No one cares that you know all the episodes of Camp Laszlo or Billy and Mandy. There was a small window when people cared, and that window has passed. Okay, yeah, the thing Bayleaf did just then, that was another example of Pokemon disobeying you in Hyper Mode. So a lot of the models for the Gen 1 and 2 Pokemon are imported from Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2. I'd imagine those games would have been an expensive effort because they had to make 3D models for 200 plus Pokemon, but in the long run I think that would have been good for the Pokemon franchise, because then in future games they can just reuse the models, and works out quite well that way. I think even Smash Bros used a few of the Pokemon Stadium models. I feel like the Entei model showed up in Smash Bros Brawl, so that was 2 generations after the Stadium games, so that they really got their money's worth out of all those new 3D models that were made in that game. Maybe that was the true purpose, was just to set up, all those models for any future video games that Game Freak wanted to make, and the actual game parts of Pokemon Stadium were just an afterthought. Maybe. I don't know, I ain't a businessman. So, what else? So I was just talking about old Cartoon Network shows, and remember the CN City era of Cartoon Network where they would have all those cool bumpers and all the Cartoon Network characters just lived in one city together and they would interact occasionally, and those were fun. Do they even have unique bumpers anymore? I don't think they do. It's probably too expensive for something that doesn't really bring in any actual money for the show. There's no ad revenue. Because, the bumpers were always good for giving the network's personality, but personality doesn't draw in viewers is the thing. And so I guess that kind of fell out of the wayside. That I obviously don't watch Cartoon Network anymore. I'm an adult, but I would imagine the bumpers are probably just all the basic, we'll be right back. Those types of bumpers. It's a shame. All the cool things in the world are going away, and there's nothing we can do about it. Remember the times when we used to be able to go out and live and have fun experiences? Not so much anymore. Remember having friends to talk to in real life, face to face, and not just Twitch streamers that you can talk to through the chat, but actual in-person conversations? None of those are things anymore. Feels like we're living in the end times. But we'll be okay though. Humanity will prevail. It always has. Even in the darkest of times. Aren't we supposed to be talking about Pokemon? Okay, I don't anticipate Surf doing a whole lot of damage here. Find it interesting how Surf was critical on one of the Pokemon but not the other. I guess they re-roll the dice every time they use the move, even if it's in the same turn. That must have been tricky to program. Programming is hard. Okay, there's Magnemite. These two electric types do not pose any... Oh wait, no, one electric type. Jesus Christ. Anyway, neither of these types pose an immediate threat to anybody on our team, so it's safe to do the swap. Do you think we're gonna get one of those it doesn't affect mischievous moments? I know Chugga Conroy likes those. He's just laughing his ass off at the fact that the Pokemon missed the attack. These talking points are getting a tad repetitive, aren't they? The goal here is to have every episode in every episode I have to say something that has not been said in any previous episode. And that gets harder to do over time. So here's something. I recently saw an interview with Larry King and one of those jerk-offs from Community, and Larry King was interviewing the Community guy about, what are the luxuries in life that you enjoy, and I think it really just highlights the whole generational wealth disparity, because, the Community guy was maybe 40 years younger, and all the closest thing he had to extravagance was like new socks and warm apple pies or something like that. And Larry King suggested private jets, and the Community guy said, well, I'm just a voice actor in DuckTales. And I guess that they're both considered wealthy, but different standards of wealth, because you have a wealthy baby boomer versus a wealthy millennial, and so there's quite the disparity there. Anywho, that guy was from Community. I never got into Community. I just kind of fell off of pretty much every TV show except Family Guy, starting in maybe 2009, which is kind of sad. What the hell have I been doing all this time? But anyway, the creators of Community later went on to develop Rick and Morty, so, or at least one of the people involved in the show did. Pardon me if that's not completely accurate, but anyway, that's one of the things that's kind of put me off the show, because I just think of all those hyperactive Rick and Morty Redditors and, Pickle Rick, blah, blah, and just thinking it's probably the same fan base, essentially, and that kind of puts me off. I cannot separate the show from the fan base. Didn't they have Chevy Chase in Community? Kind of a bold decision to make, seeing how he was supposed to be like impossible to work with, and every production that he was on was just a nightmare because he just could not play well with others. But the show still had like 6 seasons. Uh-oh, who's this guy blocking our exit to the bridge? There's the grumpy old troll who lives under the bridge, like in Dora. The girl character's walking animation wasn't accurate to how fast she was moving. She was just kind of gliding. That's a bit of an oversight on the parts of Genius Sonority. Why doesn't Genius Sonority make anything cool anymore? They used to make all these badass Pokemon games where you get to steal Pokemon from other players, and now they just make forgettable 3DS eShop crap that they made, like, I think it was called the Denpa Men, whatever the hell that is. I mean, I never played it, so I don't know. God, why would any game developer willingly put their game on the 3DS eShop of all platforms? I mean, that's basically just sending it out to die, even back when the 3DS was relevant. I don't understand it. Hopefully all the scratching myself I'm doing here isn't getting picked up on the mic. Okay, so I was not prepared for this battle in the slightest, but, so we don't have any great balls to catch this Yanima, so it's gonna be tight. But, since this is a pre-recorded video, I can tell you that we do indeed catch the Yanima, so, get ready to see the defiance of incredible odds, as it were. We're gonna catch it with just a regular-ass Pokeball. Gosh, I remember once when some guy on GameFAQs caught Mewtwo with a Pokeball in Pokemon Red, and it was such a big deal that people were talking about it for like the whole summer, and Pokemon Red wasn't even like a recent game at the time. This happened in like 2009. Yeah, those were the days. I'm probably the only person who remembers that, aside from the guy who actually did the catching. I'm sure he remembers it, because that's something that's more or less impossible to do. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got a cool channel update to tell you about. So you know how all the big popular Let's Players will have like animateds of their best moments? You'll have like a Game Grumps animated, or Oni Plays animated, or what have you. Well, the first Mongoose 1 billion animated is coming soon. I found someone on a forum who was willing to do it, and even though this channel only has 6 subs and none of them are actual people, it's still a step in the right direction. It seems I finally crossed the threshold to get at least one animated video out there, so that's gonna be pretty cool once it happens. Don't know how I'm gonna get it on my own channel though, but we'll hash out the details later, as they say. Because YouTube doesn't like duplicate videos, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Anyway, the guy doing the animation probably has more subs than I do. I mean, I don't know what his channel is, he hasn't told me, but I think it might provide a boost to my popularity that it's probably gonna be seen, you know, by people who don't know the channel. And am I making any sense right now? So let me just back up here. So the animator who's animating the video based on my Let's Play probably has more subs than I do, so I'm gonna get more of a boost in popularity than he will, when it's usually the other way around. Okay, yeah, I think I've made my point. There's Uproar. He's tossing exclamation points at us. Okay, so we really can't do anything more to Yanma, because he's already on red and he's paralyzed, and I already spoiled it, so no need to get all excited. Here we go. Badass Pokemon capture with the low odds of success. Ooh. So there you have it, folks. We've got the best Pokemon out there, Yanma. Now come to think of it, why don't the NPCs ever comment on the fact that you're just outright stealing from them? That they just seem more upset about how they how they lost the battle, and they usually just say some generic dribble about, "Oh, I couldn't make it happen," and you know, why can't they say, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? No, stop." Yeah, but anyway, why can't they say something along the lines of that? You know, there was an action replay code for Pokemon Fire Red back in the day that let you steal from trainers. I wonder if it's possible to do that on an emulator. You could have your own impromptu Pokemon Colosseum of sorts, but just in a different game. You could keep the mechanic. I gotta look up to see if that's possible. That would be a really cool thing to do on this channel someday. It would be highly unique, but there's probably at least one person out there who's done it already. That always is. YouTube's a big place. This town ain't big enough for her to do with us. Okay, down goes Nincada. So I'm sure you're aware of that special evolution that Nincada can do, where it can only be hit by super effective moves, but then the trade-off is that it only has 1 HP. That's a very neat mechanic. The developers, normally I'd say, oh, why don't they do cool things like that anymore? But quite the opposite is true in this regard. The developers have done a good job of giving variety to all the Pokemon out there and making each one feel unique. There's one of the later 3DS ones, they had a Pokemon where you had to flip your DS upside down to evolve it. And in Sword and Shield, they had the ice cream one where you had to, your on-screen in-world character had to run around in a circle 3 times, you know, to like swirl the ice cream to get it to evolve. And they've certainly given more variety to the different Pokemon out there in that regard. So good for them. Okay, so I think the idea here is Muscly McGee had his most precious Pokemon stolen, and later you get it back, and he doesn't really seem to mind because he just gives it away to you. And if you were that broken up about the fact that it was missing, why were you able to just hand it over to somebody else immediately afterward? That's just bad writing, people at Genius Sonority. Be better. Be best, as the First Lady says. I shouldn't leave that in, that's stupid.